What is up, guys? It's Drac, and this is the Nerf Doomlands Impact Zone Longarm. Now, a lot of people were not excited for the Longarm, but I was so stoked with the performance that I could squeeze out of the Desolator that I knew I absolutely had to get my hands on the Longarm. Now, while it arrived while I was traveling, the Draculina went ahead and took it out, but it came from my good friends, the Garcia clan, which is why my particular Longarm happens to have a Moltres attached to it. I'm Team Mystic, but Moltres is pretty cool too. So, getting into it, the review of the blaster itself. It is a 5-shot revolving cylinder pistol type blaster, but it is a built-in kind of barrel extension. Now, the reason that I feel that way about it is because this is a Spectre, and if you can't see the similarities between the Spectre and the Longarm instantaneously based on their shells, then I can't help you, but it's like having the Spectre silencer or half of one built onto it from the get-go. And it has no stock attachment point. I don't necessarily like those choices and designs. I really like the Spectre. In fact, for a good year-long period, the Spectre was my de facto HVZ sidearm because it was worth the thin profile in my back pocket as opposed to the Maverick when that was the only other choice. Now, on the back here we have our traditional comic showing that our Doomlander hero here blasts away the icicle dudes with his Longarm. Now, there isn't too much else to talk about packaging wise, so we have to get it out. We have to compare it at least thickness wise to the Spectre as well as the Desolator, which is why I brought it out as well. But I'm really hoping that this blaster performs in elite style, which means that there is a world where you could shorten the front barrel, make yourself a very compact 5-shot pistol, and get that kind of performance. So first off, does not seem to have Slamfire, which is worth mentioning because the Spectre does not either, which leads me to believe that this has Elite Spectre internals. If I knew enough about the insides of an Elite Spectre, I could tell you that just from looking through the ultra cool clear window. I really like the transparent orange on the black and white. I think that it gives a very, very Dead Orbit feel, but these guys mirror one another perfectly and just look really, really cool. Now, it's actually thicker in some places. I think that this top support bar here is much larger than it needs to be, as is the priming, but there's not much I can do about that. This front end attachment gives it a very long Colt style kind of profile and makes it feel like some sort of space laser pistol, which is cool. It definitely has its place. I'm just not sure if that's practical because it means that what should be pitched almost exclusively as a sidearm companion if you want something to match your Desolator, which I proved in my mod guide can be a fully standalone primary. It can be very, very hot coming out of the gates. I think that this would be a fine matching sidearm, except how are you ever going to holster something this large? Fortunately, Alucard has magical vampire powers to store his long Colts in the Aether, but I cannot do so. So this has to go in some sort of holster tech, and I'm just not seeing that happening. I'm sure somebody will create something custom to hold one of these because it definitely has a very cool future sci-fi gunslinger feel and look to it. It also looks very good with the darts included, if I may say so myself. But virtually impossible to load this thing without dropping the cylinder. For a lot of people, that's going to be a downside. I know that I personally, during pistol rounds, really like topping off my active or my empty chambers while on the run, but this requires an extra action. You're going to have to come in, you're going to have to drop this. It is free spinning once you do that, and it's got a very tight lock into the blaster, but it is what it is. Also has a sling point attachment, so maybe that's your solution. You sling it instead of holstering it. I have no idea. Very thin trigger, but so did the Spectre have that. And then a much more aggressive priming top end here than the Spectre, but given that it does have this extension, you can maintain the in-strike rails, which is cool. I'm sad that there's no barrel attachment. I'm sad that there's no stock point, but handle is remarkably comfortable. Very, very cool. I've liked these handles a lot, and the trigger well has plenty of room for one of my fingers, definitely not two, and that feels too weird choking up on this handle with that angle. So I think that this is a very straightforward blaster. It is a 5-shot rotating rotating pistol. It gets superb performance on the first shot. Let's see if we can keep it going. Nope. Fishtail. That was awesome. Man, we're 2 for 4. There we go, 3 for 4. At least we got a D out of our long arm. Let's load it up with some fairly beat darts from the SE&C bin, including a knockoff Koosh dart, and see what we get out of it. But I like this pistol. I just don't think that it's necessarily better than the Spectre. I liked the Spectre a lot. I've got some nostalgia tied up in the Spectre. And I think that this is doing the same thing that an Elite Spectre is doing, but more expensive, or the same price at 20 United States dollars for its SRP, but with a I don't know, less features. You don't get that ultra cool silencer attachment, which you could put on anything, and you can't throw stocks on this if you wanted to go like SBR. SBR not being short-barreled rifle, but short stock something revolver. I'm trying to come up with an acronym on the spot, and it's just not working, fellas. But let's fire this. Super fishtail. Ugh. Must not like worn darts very well. Hopefully this Koosh here at the end is pretty decent, but so the Koosh shot was awesome, so maybe just knockoff darts are the solution to the long arm, but relatively inconsistent performance. It's very difficult for me to recommend this one. It's a weird shape, it's a comfortable handle, it's a gorgeous aesthetic. I really do like the impact zone aesthetic overall, but it makes so much sense to me to just buy a Desolator for a little bit more money. I'd wait an allowance cycle if that's where you're at in your purchasing power, and just get the significantly cooler blaster with this aesthetic, as opposed to picking up the long arm. Spinning is awkward because it's so long, and it's weird. It's tough for me to make a final decision, though it does perform well some of the time, and I mean, 5-shot, very thin revolvers are cool. I just think that in a world where you can pick up a Spectre thrifting for $2 or $3, this is severely overpriced for what it is. It is neat. I do definitely like the way that it looks. I will be making a modification guide for it, which I'll link down below, but I'm very interested in you guys' opinions. What do you think of the long arm? Do you think that Hasbro's just milking these reshells for everything that they can get out of them, or do you think that this was a real contender, a really cool blaster? Like, would you pay 20 United States dollars for this? I'm not sure. I definitely am glad that I have one of them so that I can make a mod guide for you guys, but if I was just looking for a revolver, I think that I'd go with a hammer shot. I've been pretty spoiled by hammer shots, though. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this this review of the Doomlands Impact Zone Long Arm, and I'll see you guys very, very soon with another video. Much love, Nerf on, Drac out.